maybe he should have stopped. Hamilton is mired in mediocrity and could finally snap. In the midst of severe crackdown on the wearing of jewelry for drivers, Lewis Hamilton arrived at the Miami Grand Prix wearing 3 watches, a bracelet, a ring on every hand, and 2 necklaces. Former driver Ralph Schumacher slammed the 37-year-old's antics as childish. It can be hard to find sympathy for the most successful driver, and one of the best paid, in the history of F1. Watch every practice, qualifying and race of the 2022 FIA Formula One World Championship live on Kyo. New to Kyo? Try 14 days free now greater than. The display might have been partly in jest, but it was largely in defiance, offering a telling glimpse into the mindset of Hamilton. The Briton is a picture of tranquility when the going is good, but is no stranger to a tantrum when it gets tough. Hamilton may not be one to roll with the punches, yet his brilliance is partly owed to a thirst for throwing a swift, forceful counter when they do come his way. Only he's not usually subject to this many attacks, from this many angles, and the bombardment is starting to tell. Hamilton was said to be on the verge of retirement in the off-season given the sour taste the controversial Abu Dhabi decider of 2021 left. He was within minutes of clinching a record-breaking 8th Drivers' Championship that would have delivered him a fairy tale ending to the most storied career in F1. Instead, he was on the wrong end of the worst rules injustice ever seen in the deciding moment of a world championship that handed Max Verstappen a debut title. Hamilton rode off into the desert night and went dark as speculation grew around whether he would return to serve the final year of his Mercedes contract. Eventually, he decided to not allow the sour taste of Abu Dhabi to linger, instead chasing something sweet again. And yet, having been blessed for so long, Hamilton must now surely feel cursed. Since December's shambles, it has been one gut punch after another for Hamilton, whose brooding has become a staple of F1 weekends. The most significant blow has been Mercedes' shocking relegation from near untouchable world rulers to the fringes of title battle, now dominated by Red Bull and Ferrari. Sweeping regulation changes in 2022 always posed a major threat to Mercedes, but no one ever thought it would be this bad for the Silver Arrows. Wild porpoising, an aerodynamic shortcoming that leads to bouncing at high speeds, has plagued Mercedes worse than anyone else, and has dropped Hamilton in a no-man's land, as team boss Toto Wolff puts it. There is no solution on the horizon either. In fact, the situation is so dire that Wolff has not ruled out reverting to an older car concept. Hamilton's car was so bad at Imola that Wolff described it to his star as undrivable, while the Briton said in Miami that there had still been no progress. "I'm excited to at some stage take a step forwards, which we haven't yet," Hamilton said. Not since he first joined Mercedes in 2013 has Hamilton not prominently featured in a title battle. Even then, he had 2 podium finishes inside the season's first 3 races. This year, he has finished inside the top 5 just twice with 1 podium, while he came 10th in Saudi Arabia and a lowly 13th at Imola. His dream of securing an 8th title in 2022 is now surely up in smoke as he sits 68 points off championship leader Charles Leclerc. This is no longer simply a matter of Hamilton not having the tools needed to succeed, however. Making matters worse is that he can't get on the same page as his team tactically, and George Russell is mounting pressure from across the garage. Russell has 23 more points than Hamilton and made a sharp tactical decision under pressure in Miami that underscored his dominance. The 24-year-old promptly pitted under a late safety car and rejoined the track behind his teammate, who bickered with his team and ultimately erred in staying out. Mercedes gave Hamilton the choice of whether to stop, but he threw the decision back to the team before realizing he was going to lose his spot to Russell on fresh tires. Russell also jumped Hamilton in Australia after a timely safety car, while the latter was left confused in Jeddah under a virtual safety car. Hamilton was told to pit but missed the entrance, saying that a car was in the way. Haas Kevin Magnussen didn't miss it, and finished ahead of the Mercedes driver in ninth. Meanwhile, in Imola, Hamilton struggled to manufacture a pass on Aston Martin's Lance Stroll at a time Russell closed in and passed Magnussen on a drying track. Hamilton later ignored a team order to pit for slicks in drying conditions despite Daniel Ricciardo posting quicker times on the tyre after an earlier stop. Hamilton stayed out on the intermediate tyres for one more lap, and when he did choose to stop, he came in at the same time as Stroll, who was ahead of him, and Ocon, who was behind. Ocon's stop was quicker and he was released into his path, meaning Hamilton effectively gave up 2 spots due to his hesitancy. Hamilton was later lapped by Verstappen, which led to Red Bull senior advisor Helmut Marko saying, "Maybe he should have stopped last year, he is thinking maybe." It would be remiss to not acknowledge that luck has played a role in Hamilton's struggles. Nonetheless, an undeniable pattern is emerging, showing how Hamilton's race awareness and decision-making is blunted. Faced with the unique problems of a midfield battle after years of front-running, he's too often failed to find a solution. While Hamilton's response has been to sulk and pick fights, Russell is bringing a refreshing attitude to the Mercedes garage despite its struggles. To me, he almost feels like the anchor to the team right now, former driver and pundit Danica Patrick told Sky Sports after the Miami Grand Prix. Lewis is frustrated, doesn't feel like they've made any progress. Toto sounds very frustrated. I know they're not doing what they used to doing, but George sounded really collected and said they've got to stay the course. Russell could be excused for feeling hard done by himself, having waited years for his promotion from back Marcus Williams, only for Mercedes to suddenly regress on his arrival. Instead, he's rolling up his sleeves and making the most of a bad situation. He's somehow amassed 59 points to sit ahead of Ferrari's Carlos Sainz in 4th on the drivers' standings. We're now heading into uncharted waters that's sure to test Hamilton's resolve. It was ultimately easy for Hamilton to come back year after year when Valtteri Bottas was his teammate, as he knew he comfortably had the Finns' measure. Before those 5 years, only Nico Rosberg bested Hamilton in a title fight at Mercedes, capitalizing on his teammate's reliability issues to win the 2016 title by only 5 points. A title won't be on the line this time, but Russell could be set to push Hamilton in a similar way. And if all that is to push Hamilton to his mental limit, then nitpicking from the FIA over jewelry regulations is the last thing the 7-time world champion needs. UK Telegraph writer Oliver Brown wrote this week that it's now only a matter of time before he's tipped over the edge. So many had come to salute Hamilton, in Miami, the icon of this generation, only to see him mired in mediocrity once more, he wrote. It is a question of when, not if, his patience finally snaps.